Okay, we're live now. Welcome everyone to Speak Up Africa, where we aim to inform, engage, and empower the youth. So today I'm joined with the Law Student Society of Kenya, and with us we have guests from that particular organization, and we'll be engaging more in order to celebrate the International Youth Day. So at this point, I'll introduce myself. My name is Salamu Ashuka. I'm from Speak Up Africa, and I will be your host today. And with me are the panelists that we'll be engaging with today. And I'll just give them a minute to introduce themselves and then we can get started. Yeah, karibuni. I think we can start with you, Tali, then Jessica, Joseph, then Caleb.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here today. My name is Tali Israel Tali. I am an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Jessica Damar. I am a student at Moi University and also the president of the Law Student Society of Kenya. We're very happy to be here today to mark the International Youth Day. And I'm really glad that you're here today and I can't wait to listen to what the panelists have to present for us on this very auspicious occasion. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Joseph Muhinja. I'm a student at Moi University. I'm going to fourth year, and I'm very glad to be here to celebrate the International Youth Day, and I hope you will have a good time. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Kipkorir Caleb. I'm a law student at Kabarak University. I'm an editor with the Kabarak Law Review. I'm humbled to be here. Yes, and thank you very much.
Sawa, karibuni sana. We're glad to have you here with us today at Speak Up Africa. And I think at this point, we'll just get into it. So in order to celebrate the International Youth Day, this is a day that was created in order to motivate and basically to empower the youth to be more proactive with social issues. And I think my first question will be, there exists a lot of youth-led initiatives, not just in Kenya but all over the world. And I'd like to hear from you guys, like, how do you think that these youth-led initiatives can contribute, can be effectively taken advantage of and help the youth to contribute to global issues such as climate change and things such as policy making? How can we use these initiatives to make that happen? We can start with anyone. Okay, maybe we can start with you, Joseph.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity. I believe what the youth-led initiatives can effectively address the global challenges, maybe the climate change, maybe to use innovations and technology in this field. You know that we cannot speak about the youth without addressing the issue of technology. You know that the youth are very proactive in technology, and we're this generation, and the youth are more active. And you know that compared to other generations and compared to other older people, find that the youth are more active in in technology. So when you are using this, this youth-led initiative, they can use innovations and technology. I'll use an example of there's a mobile platform called Mshule, whereby it uses artificial intelligence to improve access to quality education to children in low income communities. So this platform can be used to address these challenges and maybe enable children to get access to education in various communities, especially in Kenya. So they're using this artificial intelligence to ensure that children get access to education. And these platforms can find that many people are benefiting because the youth themselves are getting employment opportunities whereby they can be those specialized in ICT. They can be used to generate this app and use the artificial intelligence to enable that to enable access to education, so the youth-led initiatives, they can use innovations and technology to address these global challenges. And also, they can these youth-led initiatives, they can use they can form entrepreneurs whereby they can create maybe businesses or maybe ideas used to address these global challenges. And in addressing global maybe climate change, they can use eco-friendly entrepreneurship ideas so that they can address these issues. I'll do a reference, maybe I use an example whereby Kenya entrepreneurs, they formulated an entrepreneurship called EcoPost, whereby they produce eco-friendly plastic plumber from recycled plastic waste. This enables to ease the problem of waste management in the country, and in turn, improve environmental conservation. Because when you are using eco-friendly plastic, you find that it will not take long to decompose, or it cannot cause adverse effects on the environment, but instead improve environmental conservation, whereby they are recycling this waste, which if left not recycled, they can cause adverse environmental degradation. But when in turn they use this entrepreneurship and they use this eco-friendly mechanisms to produce eco-friendly plastic, they can improve environmental conservation. Yes, that's my input. Thank you.
Sawa sawa. Thank you so much for that. Caleb.
Well, thank you very much once again. On youth leading, on youth solving global challenges or making an impact on global challenges, my take is it starts from home. It starts from our academic institutions, because our institutions host the, let's say, almost the highest number of youth around the globe. And so, therefore, once we maximize on our clubs and societies, I think that can be a platform of us starting having an impact on global challenges. Take, for example, in 2019, Kisumu Girls, they actually developed an app. And this app was developed in order to, let's say, curb female genital mutilation. It had, let's say, some site for where you can call the local chief and everything. And so, and therefore, in my opinion, once we start from our institutions, well, here at Kabarak, we have some program. It is known as Faith and Environment. We students, together with the Kabarak Law Review, we are looking at how we can use faith to impact the environment. Or, yes, you see, in the same way, people don't steal because it is among the 10 commandments that you shall not steal, or we don't murder because of our religious affiliations or our cultural beliefs. Therefore, we want to have this forum whereby we are championing a campaign that, in the same way pastors preach on the importance of giving tithes, they can also preach on the importance of stewardship, which is a duty given to man. Well, recently we planted trees at some AIC church. It is a youth-led initiative. And the youth are at the forefront in solving this. And it doesn't stop there. We have, let's say, human rights abuses, which are happening even in our villages. And yes, human rights abuses is a global issue, especially in third world countries. Human rights, well, we all know how the police deal with our villages and everything. We know the criminalization of poverty in our villages. And while this is a global issue, it is affecting us in our villages. And it is therefore the mandate of each and every youth to inform the entire community using local barazas, even on their basic human rights. I believe we are just privileged to be, let's say, in law schools where we know, let's say, the rights to inheritance. or matters dealing with matrimonial property. Maybe it's because we are in law school, but these are global challenges. It's affecting almost the entire sub-Saharan Africa. And therefore, once we start from our homes in solving global challenges affecting us in our own homes, let's say restorative justice in matters dealing with environment and preaching it, I think in that way we shall be at the forefront in solving this. Thank you very much.
Okay, that was really inspiring. Thank you so much for that. I think I'd like to hear from Tali, then Jessica.
Thank you. The topic of the youth to me brings in a lot of, it has a lot of aspects and a lot of issues to it, especially when you're looking at youth-led initiatives. I agree with my colleagues with respect to innovation, entrepreneurship, and issues that are affecting the society generally and starting from home. There you will realize there are many youth-led initiatives. For instance, I believe the Speak Up Africa itself is youth-led. Myself, I'm part of a youth-led movement organization. I know Jessica is part of a youth-led organization. Unfortunately, the question then comes, why are these organizations always not able to deliver or to achieve whatever purposes, objectives that then the founders envisaged? And the major problem lies in purpose. If today the 5 of us in this chat start together and say, let us come up with an organization to advocate for, let us say, the right of minors, and then we become a social justice platform, unfortunately, at some point you find that most of the organizations then get swayed by the political landscape of the country. We have made our society structured in a way that we cannot detach from the political landscape of the country. So you would find that almost more than a majority of the organizations that are considered youth movements end up getting convoluted in political issues, end up being champions of a certain political agendas, and they end up diluting the purpose within which they were generated. If you have a youth-led organization, unfortunately, if you do not have sufficient, let us say, funding to advocate your agenda, and then somebody comes in, remember, whoever feeds you controls you. Whoever pays the piper calls the tune. So a piper comes in, and then when you are the piper, and then somebody is funding and financing your activities, they will want to control the tune. And so you find that we have diversion of the ideas, diversion of the ideals, and that becomes problematic, unfortunately. However, it is possible. It is possible that you can found an organization, you can choose. Fortunately, with this digital space, if let us say you are a platform to speak out social injustices, or you are a platform to speak up empowerment and innovation, you do not need a lot of resources to do that. Let us say if you want to speak about the dangers of climate change in this realm of the social spaces, it takes very little for you to create, like now we are here today, create a link, invite people, get an audience. Again, the other unfortunately is, you see, we have very diversified group of youth. We have a particular group of youth who use, let us say, the social spaces properly to articulate ideas, like I believe the initiative of Speak Up Africa. They articulate the ideas, they speak out of the issues, and then shape societal conversations. That way youth can be seen speaking. Unfortunately, then you will see, as the youth, some of us then will also engage in activities that are not inspiring, that are driving no agenda, but that are destroying the same values and the virtues that then the other side of the group wishes to pursue. So to sum it up, I think it is possible to have youth-led initiative, youth-led organization, champion and advocate for particular interests that are just for the society, that are for societal development. That, however, has to happen only where the youth that are in those youth-led organizations do not get swayed away to pursue other ulterior agendas. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. That was really, really insightful. Jessica, what are your thoughts on this?
Thank you so much, Salome. And I'm glad Tali has mentioned the challenges that come in when the youth are trying to make an impact on these global issues. However, for me, I think I'll highlight three key aspects that the youth have, which is very, very beneficial to the making of an impact in global challenges. And I feel like the first one is the power of influence. Because when we look at how the youth can influence each other to move to a certain direction, we see that if that influence is used to make an impact when it comes to the issues that bedevil us as a globe, when it comes to the issues that develop that challenge our communities, we see that a lot of change can be propagated through the youth. And one such example is Greta Thunberg. We have heard about her a lot, and she has been able to influence a lot of things when it comes to the moves that are being made in terms of changing the environment and ensuring that climate change does not adversely affect us, but we make substantial steps towards having a cleaner and healthier environment. We see that she's a young lady, and she is really, really young for that matter. And just seeing such a young person being so passionate about environmental issues was really nice, and it also made a global movement towards looking at climate change for the critical issue that it is. So I think that power of influence is something that the youth have, and we should always use that influence to exert pressure in the right spaces. Because if we channel this energy to other things, we'll see ourselves losing direction and losing focus of what is actually right for our world, what is actually right for our societies and communities. The next thing I would like to talk about is numbers. We have numbers as the youth, and if we use our numbers for positive influence, then we can actually make very, very substantial change. If we just, tell ourselves that we're going to work on something, we have the numbers to achieve a lot of things in our society. If we tell ourselves that we're going to have a drive to ensure that we, positively impact the environment, we're going to achieve something, as opposed to people who are older than us, because we have numbers and we also have time. So that's is something that we can also use to the advantage as youth, so that we can have positive impact to the challenges, or rather help in solving the challenges that we are facing as a globe. Another thing that we have, I have mentioned it, is the workforce and the capability to work towards changing these things. We have a lot of knowledge to our disposal that we can use. We have a lot of things that we can use so that we can change whatever we feel like is not right in our society. And I feel like in this current generation, we have all the information just at our fingers. And once we reach out to it, then we can be able to positively impact our spaces, and the exposure that we can also get from these platforms that we have, the books that we have access to, and also the people who can fund us, as Tali said. When we use all these resources that we have around us, we can be able to make positive impact. And that we have seen, because a lot of youth have taken it upon themselves to establish organizations. A lot of youth have joined groups that can help them to impact the society in a positive way, and that we have to laud them for. And yeah, I think that is it for me. Thank you.
Okay, Sawa, thank you so much. I am really inspired by your answers, and I think I want to take us back to what I believe it was Caleb who mentioned sorry, not Caleb, Joseph, who mentioned about the use of technology. And I'd like to hear from you, Joseph, first. What do you think that, or how do you think we can use, the youth can use technology to drive social change? Because it's no secret that we are the biggest consumers of social media, not just in Kenya but all over the world, and that is also something that we also strive to do in social here at Speak Up Africa. We are trying to, we're using social media platforms. We're not creating any new platform. We're just using what is there to drive social change by informing people and hopefully engage them. And then now we can drive towards civic engagement and social change in our country and in the entire East Africa. So I'd like to hear from you, Joseph, first. How do you think the youth can effectively use social media to drive social change? Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. As I said earlier, maybe use developing maybe softwares or applications which can be used to address these global challenges. And also my colleague Caleb also stated that Kisumu Girls also developed an app which could address the issues of FGM. So if we use students, or if the youths could use that platform, or maybe to develop a software or applications which could be used to address these global issues, could be useful. And also, as you said, I find that the youth are most active in social media, and maybe the youth also have influence, as my colleague Jessica said, that they have the workforce and we have the numbers. So if we maybe put that content in our various social media platforms, many people are able to be reached. And to use maybe, for example, Twitter, when you post something and maybe you encourage people to retweet, you find that these retweets will finally, through these retweets, you find that many people, maybe those who are following this person, and maybe those persons, each followers, you find that it's like a pyramid. So when you share something regarding maybe global challenges and how to address it, and maybe you encourage your followers maybe to retweet, I find that these people are many people are able to be found out. And social media particularly is maybe the main thing which the youth are maybe have a major influence. For example, TikTok, maybe YouTube, Facebook, even our WhatsApp. If we maybe share something inspiring, maybe to address the global change, we find that many people, and maybe if I use an example, if maybe a person has maybe 200 WhatsApp contacts viewing that message that you have put, or maybe that initiative that you want to put, and maybe inspires maybe half of those contacts, maybe those are 100 people, and they in turn share, you find that it's like a pyramid, it's like a network which is created. So maybe if we use an initiative, and also there's a project which was maybe initiated to target the youth who are proficient on and effective in coding. It's called Coding for Integrity. So hereby you are encouraging youths who are skilled in coding to maybe to code, or maybe to develop programs which are able to address these global challenges maybe facing the world. So if you use the softwares, the applications, and most importantly the social media, find that these are the major ways which the technology can be used to maybe address these global challenges. Yes, thank you.
Okay, sawa. So thank you for that insight. And I think I'd like to follow up with Jessica on this. How do we now get the youth to be interested? Once you've established that online presence, you've established a movement. The truth is, not everybody is really interested in social change and in driving change in just everywhere, yeah, in the world. So how do we make people, interested in that?
Okay, I think it's really hard. I can say that for a fact. It's really hard to get people to get interested in something that they do not resonate with. But nonetheless, it doesn't mean that we should now give up and stop and, say that, oh, we don't have to get this global change today. We could get it maybe 10 years later. So I think what someone can do to ensure that they get people involved is just to continue, to do whatever you're doing passionately. If you're leading these spaces, you should just put your best foot forward and ensure that and also something that is really important is consistency. When we get to these spaces, when we have established spaces whereby people are supposed to aid each other in social change, consistency is key, because once you stop, then everybody else stops, So I think it's just commitment. We should drive ourselves as youths to be committed to the cause of bringing positive change to our world and positive change to our environment, positive change to our communities. And once we have that commitment, then we can be able to ensure that it is a progressive commitment that will not die down or fade away. And this commitment can only be achieved if people come up and ensure that they make the rest of the youth to resonate with whatever we're doing. If it's planting trees, tell us why we are planting trees. If it's advocating for human rights, make people understand why this is important. And once you make that clear, then a lot of people can come in and resonate with their cause and move with you in that way. And also building capacities of future generations. So for example, if you have founded, for example, an organization, then people have resonated with your cause. You don't stop it at that. You build other people who will be able to take the mantle after you, so that you can continue and progress in that manner. I hope that answers your question. I think commitment and people resonating with your cause, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Sawa, that perfectly answers my question. And I think for this next question, I'd like to pose it to you, Tali, since you're the oldest here, but you're still one of us. So, Tali, how do you think that the youth can balance the pursuit of success? Because at the end of the day, we need to pay our bills. We also need to drive social change and all that. And you've mentioned that you're also part of a youth-led initiative. So how do you balance the two? Because we're told we need to give back to the society, and I believe especially us with our legal background, the best way we can do that is by driving social change, because we've actually seen these things, we've learned about these, and we owe a duty to society to actually inform people that what, probably this is what the law says about this, and this is what you should do, but this is not what is happening. So how do you balance the need to give back to your society in the best way that you can, and also to pursue your life goals and all, because it can be difficult? So how do you propose that?
Thank you. Actually, you made a comment that I'm the oldest here. Professionally, yes. So with respect to the question of asked, it's a line drawn in the sand. In the sand, it's a thin balance, and I'll just mention 2 or 3 things. First, great ideas, like I had mentioned earlier, are stifled by socioeconomic challenges, because again, there is the survival aspect. And so you find that you found an organization, but then you have to pay your bills, like you mentioned. You are thinking that you need your rent to be paid. You are thinking that you need to get your clothing, and then you have maybe black tax expectations. But I think the point begins at, especially for the youth who have had a chance and opportunity. Of course, not all of the youth have had an opportunity to go to school up to university or college level. So, for instance, I will speak for college and university youths that have just finished. There is a thin line. Actually, it's not a thin line. It's a very big line that between transition from being an academician into a professional. For instance, for me, when we started, you mentioned what I used to do as a student. Then you discover that when you transition into a professional, the game changes completely, altogether. So the first thing I think is that it's important, at least to get proper mentorship. And mentorship does not necessarily, in my opinion, mean mentorship from guys way aged than us, because then we are living in dynamic times, we are living in technological times, and there is so much then that this generation might not resonate with the other generation. So we can have just an intergenerational mentorship amongst ourselves, guidance amongst ourselves, so that we're able to transition properly from being a student into being an academician. Sorry, from being an academician into being a professional. And then once you are able to do that, you've gotten proper mentorship. And then now you want to ask yourself, what do you want to achieve? When you say then you need to balance the pursuit of success vis-a-vis then the activities that you will be doing. For me, speaking as myself, when we founded the organization that I am part of, we have to make major sacrifices. And the truth of the matter is that for some of us, it is not easy. For some, it might be easy. There is no formula, but then persistence is the key. Usually, when you get to be a professional, from what I have seen, the first, second, or third year, you are learning, and you need to really put in a lot of energy, a lot of persistence, and a lot of consistency to make sure that you are working on yourself. First, you have to work on yourself, work on your agenda, your ideology, so that you become aware and clear of the objectives you seek to pursue. Because then, if you don't work on yourself, it will be very difficult for you to work on a particular project or on a particular agenda. So, in the first years, you would want to work on yourself. You would want to be free. I usually say that as a youth, as Tali, if you follow me, you would see I usually say, in a world where you have freedom of choices, just choose to be happy. And what I mean by that is that I think as a youth, as an individual, for you to pursue innovation properly and success at the same time, you need to be free. You need freedom to pursue your thoughts up to the highest ends, including the freedom to know that you can make mistakes and you are ready to bear the consequences. Of course, remember, I started by saying we need guidance and mentorship, but then we need that freedom. Once you know that you're free, that socioeconomic circumstances, rent, poverty, and all those factors are not holding you back, then I think nothing will stop you. You will just become unstoppable. You will think and you will know, I am applying myself to this thing, and it will definitely end up paying off. But it does not happen in a single day. Rome was not built in one day, but definitely Rome will be built. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. That was truly deep. I think I don't know whether Caleb, you have anything else to add to that?
Hey, pardon, have you asked me anything?
Yes. Tali just delved into how the youth can balance the pursuit of success and financial security with driving social change and contribute and being proactive to social issues. And I was wondering whether you have anything else to add to that or any thoughts to add.
Well, I said I have nothing to add.
Okay. Sawa. So thank you. So I think we can move on to the next topic, and I want to talk about job insecurity in East Africa. And I want us to discuss this in light of the public service internship bill that was tabled in Parliament earlier this year. Now, this bill seems to seeks to create internship positions with remuneration for interns. Just basically making government internships a safe space and ensuring that interns actually get the job benefits such as remuneration, health insurance, house insurance, the basics, yeah, as interns, not as employees. Now, I feel like probably the sponsor of that particular bill was trying to address the issue of job insecurity and probably protect interns, from any sort of harsh working environments, and ensuring that they're well catered for at work. So my question is, do you think that bill is enough, and what else can we as the youth do to try and address this issue? Because it was even aired in the Daily Nation earlier this week that there's a huge number of unemployed youths in the country who are just people who do not even have jobs and all, and any source of income. So how do we deal with that as the youth? Because we can't keep on asking for the government, we can keep on asking for well wishers and older generations to help us with our problems. So how can we as the youth address that? Maybe I'd like to first hear from you, Joseph.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity. My views with regards to this bill is that it's a really bill, and it seems to like integrate. It's like a stepping stone, whereby the young graduates and maybe those who are unemployed could be taken through this process of internship, so that they can be employable, and where they can be taught the skills and the training necessary, so that when they get to the job market, so that it cannot be hard for them in a completely new environment. But one thing I Tali said is that when there's these initiatives and whereby it is politically influenced, find that these are challenges, because as he said, the one who has food, he controls the one, and I am not convinced in that. But anyways, find that this bill will maybe have a challenge in the implementation, whereby who are these youths who are getting these internship positions? Is it the elite youths, or is it those who don't have maybe the future or maybe the job opportunities? You can find that the challenges with this is that it could have a problem of bureaucracy, or maybe political influence, whereby maybe I know a certain leader who is in turn in charge of that internship program, so I just contact him, and maybe he makes it easier for me. And we find that this is a challenge also. Maybe look back in the maybe NOS or this kazi mtaani, find that maybe you had to know someone so that you can get that opportunity. That is the problem, the political influence, because in the past the government has tried to address this issue of unemployment, whereby there was a youth enterprise development fund which was credited by the World Bank to maybe address maybe to fund the youths which have maybe a business plan, so that they can be able to benefit. There's a Kenya Youth Employment and Skills, KYES. These programs find that the implementation has been the problem. So this, while it seems good, there's a challenge of maybe who are applicable, or maybe who can get these opportunities. There are many ways which job insecurity could be tackled, whereby the government could in turn liaise with the private sector, because that is where maybe vast job opportunities are found. They can maybe liaise so that they can create programs for the employment opportunities. And maybe I find that there's I don't know if it's the Prime Cabinet Secretary he encouraged, while he said that while there are no job opportunities in Kenya, people should be urged to seek for jobs overseas. So maybe if the government maybe liaised with this traveling agency and ensure effective job opportunities abroad overseas, this could maybe be a way. But with regards to this the bill, the implementation remains the same. There's the political influence. I'm sorry, whereby it could be an act, but find that the unemployment rate will still go up, because the political actors will influence this program, and it may not seem to be successful because they could be maybe scandals and maybe they could be looting, so that so many problems. Yes, so that's my input. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I see that we have a new panelist on board. Angelica Karibu Sana. I'd like to give you a moment to introduce yourself and also tell us how do you think us as the youth can address the issue of job insecurity in Kenya? Karibu. Okay, Angelica, I think you're muted, so maybe you could unmute yourself.
Control Shift.
Okay, can the rest of you hear me? Okay, Jessica, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, sawa. Thank you. So maybe we can proceed. I don't know whether Kelvin, you're in a position to join us now, but yeah, Angelica, kindly let us know once you fix your microphone in the private chat. And yeah, I think I'd invite Caleb to give us his thoughts on this. How can we how can we deal with the issue of job insecurity in Kenya as the youth? Okay, I don't know whether I'm the only person who can't hear Caleb. Jessica, kindly confirm whether you can hear me.
I cannot
Okay,
hear him as well.
Okay, Santos cannot hear him as well. Caleb, can you hear me? Okay. Caleb, can you hear us? We can't hear you. Yeah, I still can't hear you. Okay, sawa. I don't know. Kevin, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Thank you. So I think we can jump over to you. And the question that I asked previously is, how can we as the youth address the issue of job insecurity on our own instead of having to depend on older generations to solve our issues um for us. For Tali, yes, you're back in. So back over to you, Kevin.
Thank you so much. That's a good question. We must be very careful to note that the issue of job insecurity, number one, it's been caused by the fact that we have limited opportunities and a wide pool of people who are trying to fight for the same. And how do we beat this? Ideally, as a youth or as an undergraduate student, when you leave school, when you graduate, all of you have the degree. What makes the difference is the capacity building and the effectiveness that you have in executing your skill set. What do I mean? There is need to be multi-skilled. That's number one. There's equally need to be interdisciplinary in nature in terms of what you do and how you do it. Let me give an example. As a law student, you should be in a position to write effectively. You should be in a position to speak effectively. You should be in a position to moderate sessions. You should be in a position to be kept abreast with developments in law and issues affecting the society. You should be in a position to appreciate technology, the trends, and at all material times, you should look at all these things from the regulatory and legal perspective. Therefore, what sets you apart in this pool of talent and skill that employers have at their disposal is the skill set and the ability for you to do many things. Job insecurity, I won't lie to you, most of these industries are run by the same people. The biggest companies are owned by individuals or the same set of group of companies. The biggest hotels are run by the same families. You cannot run away from that. You cannot do an overhaul of that. That's just how it is. But even these companies, for example, if as a lawyer you are employed in the hotel industry, maybe as the head of legal, there might be need for you to regulate plenary sessions when the MC is late. There might be need for you to organize the seating positions for conferences that are being held in the hotel. There might be need for you to receive guests. Therefore, a lawyer who has the ability to do all these things will be preferred any day to a lawyer who has an undergraduate degree with them and the postgraduate diploma. The best way for you to handle this is to make sure that you are multi-skilled at all material times. Work hard, but beyond the school hours or beyond the 8 to 5, use the remaining time to build your skill set. That's the only way you can beat the job insecurity. I will not underscore the place of luck. I will not underscore the place of family connections. I will not overlook the place of recommendations and having the approval of mentors and whatnot. But there is need to be multi-skilled. That is the only way you keep on developing. My brother Charlie will tell anyone that even in the practice of law, we are moving past the traditional litigation. We are moving past drafting contracts. We have new areas of practice that are coming up. We are having regulatory compliance. We are having ESG. We are having mentorships. The advocates who travel all over the world just engaging in speaking activities, passing knowledge, sharing knowledge. So how do you build capacity besides what I've said? What books are you reading beyond your school books? What events are you attending? And as a student, in what capacity are you attending these events? Are you attending these events and just chilling, taking pictures, videos, making reels? Or are you attending these events and volunteering? The best way to meet everyone and anyone in any sector is by through conferences and such other activities. Volunteer, be an usher. That way you get to say hi to the CEO of any company. You get to show people where to sit. Go for these events. Don't take them as a preserve of the elite or the few in schools. That's how you get to build capacity. Back to you before I overspeak.
Sawa, thank you. You can never overspeak on a platform that was built to, give people the time and opportunity to speak up Africa. Thank you so much for that. So, so the message that people should get out there is to build their capacity. Yeah. So, I think I'll go now to the next question, and let me add Angelica and Caleb to this stream. And maybe Angelica, I can pose this to you and give you a moment to introduce yourself as you answer the
Yeah.
question. Now, we had Sawa. So now we had a recent outburst by youth from USN Kishu about the alleged Finland scholarship fraud program. So my question is, given using the situation, the let's use Masitaras as a case study for this particular conversation. So do you think that what she did was actually effective enough? And if yes, and if yes or no, do you what how do you think that the youth can actually best drive for social change? Like, is it by having such outbursts and casting light on such leaders who do not actually really serve the people and are just there to serve their own personal, allegedly serve their personal interests? Or are there other ways that we can also drive for social change and hold our leaders accountable?
Okay. I hope you can hear me right now. Right.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so thanks. So my name is Angelica A. Young. I am the founder of Mythos Foundation. And basically, the aim of Mythos Foundation is to empower young African writers to write African narratives from the African perspective. And I'm also the head of operations in AfriBright Network, which is, a group of, young people who come together and empower people in line with the SDG 10, which is reducing inequalities. So, yeah, so your question on the outburst going on in Eldoret right now, about the whole scholarship issue and stuff like that. Well, basically, for me personally, I feel like the outburst was very necessary because where we are at right now as a country, we really need a forum where the youth and the people at large can really, they can give out their opinion and they can say what they think, because this is a very, very necessary matter that is going on here in Uasin Gishu. And if it was not let out by the people, if it was not, brought out to the streets and the outburst wasn't, let out, we wouldn't have known that this, kind of thing occurred. So I really think it was necessary for the outburst to be there. And, the outburst was very necessary because even judging from what happened in the past in our country for colonialism to end, like we had to really be out there and say that we don't want these people to be in our country. And yeah, so I feel like it is very necessary for us as the youth. If we have this problem going on in our country right now, if we have this issue that is, impeding our success or is, a very huge hindrance towards our success, we should really go out there and tell our leaders, like, we don't like what is going on. So like we have to really make sure that they're really addressing it. And one very good ways through the outburst. So I feel like it's very necessary, and it is also under the constitution, the right of demonstrating and stuff like that. As long as it's peaceful, well, it's very, very essential for the youth to really picket and go out there and say that they're not satisfied with what the government is doing. And yeah, they have to go out there and say, no, we don't like what you're doing, so we want our rights to be heard. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. I don't know whether Charlie, you have something to add.
Sure. My network has been unstable for a moment, but I hope I'm back. Before that, I think just to comment on the previous question that my colleague Kelvin answered, and I agree with him about building capacity, looking into other areas, so that if you are from school, from a particular area, then you should not just focus on that field. But then my perspective will also be, I think as a country, we have a ballooning population, which as a third world country, we were not prepared for. And as my colleague mentioned, therefore, the lack of opportunities. But then we need to look at it from a young and early age, as in terms of education and training, and equipping our people, our population, on diversified areas, such as agriculture, for example. All of us cannot be teachers, all of us cannot be lawyers, all of us cannot be doctors. But then, are we having people, especially the young people, that are heavily looking into ideas and methods in large-scale agriculture? For example, I understand there is the problem of capital. You need land, you need resources to, let's say, put up a large-scale agricultural production. But are we having youths thinking outside the box? Are we having youth thinking? Do we have somebody who has thought, how can you utilize the desert area in Turkana? And then come up with an idea. Go outside there, look for seed funding, so that you have somebody who would come and invest in us. Do we have the youth thinking of such ideas? So that if we have them, then platforms such as this, they speak up, they showcase this idea. It is all over the media, so that we get people that then invest in us. That is with respect to that. And then with respect to the outbursts by the lady in Uasin Gishu, I believe, and I really don't understand what is happening there, because then I think the system is failing the residents of Uasin Gishu. Because if whatever has happened is a crime, if money was obtained by false pretenses, by now we need to have the DCI, we need to have the ODPP charge the people that are involved. What are the goals of that public? Public participation is important, but what are we achieving? That student spoke. You could read the depression not from her, but from everybody that was seated there. But how are you going to help those people? I think as a system, we need to be, we need to call up upon the relevant authorities who are seeing these things. Now everybody's in social media castigating the lady. Oh, she did not respect the elders. A view that I don't associate with, because like my colleague has said, Angelica, even the colonialists had to be spoken to. And those people who are speaking, most of them were at the age of in their 30s, in their late 20s, people like Thomas Joseph Mboya. They were not sold. And so I think speaking up is the right thing to do. But even as a system, I think we have developed a system. By now, we need to have the ODPP moved in. We need to have orders that have been taken against these leaders. And like people have said, if our country had integrity, by now we would have head officials that have stepped down. So, back to you. Back to you.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we can hear from you, Caleb, now. I don't know whether you managed to fix your network.
Well, I realized 2 tabs were open. Am I clear now?
Yes, you are.
And so, well, what do you want me to speak on?
Okay, so the question was, we're using the case of Mercy Terrace as a case study for this particular conversation. And the question is, how can the youth, drive social change? And do you think that the way that Mercy Terrace spoke up is one of the ways in which we can actually drive for social change, by calling out the leaders and, holding them accountable? Or are there other avenues that we can explore to achieve this?
Well, first as Speak Up Africa, I think we need to contact her and ask for permission to use our images, let's say our logo or something like that, even for some time, because what she did was incredible. Well, as per our Constitution 2010, I think the Constitution starts with the people, with the sovereignty of the people. And the people can do, well, in Article 1, we can exercise our rights either directly or through elected representatives. And by speaking up, it is an inherent exercise of our own individual and inalienable right. And so Tarus, it's actually read Tarus because it's a Kalenjin name, it's an African name. And so what Tarus did was incredible, because she actually understands that the power vests with the people. And just as Advocate Israel Talia said, it's a failure of the system. It should not reach this point whereby they are back and they are actually looking at their the elected representatives. Well, the moment these students were actually stuck in England, criminal proceedings would have already been instituted. Where was the EACC at that particular point? And so we just have, let's say, we have independent officers and government officials who are sleeping on their jobs. It should not reach at that point whereby she's depressed. And so number one, it is commendable. Well, on the aspect of, and another thing is, this should be the order of the day. This should be the order of the day. We should not be waiting until, let's say, something like this, like it should not be something which is unique. We should be looking at an MCA in a funeral being booed for failing, let's say, to let's say supply water as they had promised. We should be looking at a member of parliament being akinyang'anywa, let's say, the microphone for not fulfilling their promises. We should be looking at, let's say, an entire population refusing to go to a political rally organized by a mheshimiwa for failing to fulfill their promises. And so it comes with civic and political awareness as a society. And so what she did is commendable. It should be the order of the day and she should be celebrated. Today, I'm not on Twitter, but when I checked when I somehow went on Twitter on someone's phone, I saw what is trending. It's Brian Chira. And then I was wondering, wait, that is what is trending in Kenya. And then I was wondering, why is it not Starus? And so it goes back to the question on technology, whereby our values, even in technology, we have a technology without values, whereby we celebrate nudes more than we celebrate content. Well, once Speak Up Africa posts this video, we are likely to get, let's say, a maximum of, let's say, 4,000 views in even 5 years. However, if we would be talking about other issues, let's say we'll be talking about nudes, we'll be talking about things that actually don't build us economically as a people, it doesn't build us socially, things that are actually, let's say, contradicts with our values as an African people, maybe we'll be trending. Maybe if we'd be cracking jokes, let's say by the end of the week, we'd be having, let's say, even 100,000 views. And so this thing should be the order of the day. Everyone should be doing it, even in the most remote village of this country. Thank you very much, and I hope I've made my contribution.
Yes, you definitely have. So maybe at this point we can get into our last question of the day, and I'd like to hear from each and every one of our panelists on this. And now, finally, I think what we should be concluding on is the role of the Gen Z, akina sisi, in youth empowerment. So actually the phrase youth empowerment is something that was actually created by the older generations, and they probably haven't really conceptualized it to us because it seems like a complex term for us, some of us, and as the youth. Now, how can we give it meaning in a way that can resonate with Gen Z, to make them actually, proactive and to actually want to be out there and to, want to do something to drive social change, not just, Kenya, but regionally, So how can we do that? And I think I'd like to hear from you guys, starting with Joseph, then we can go to Tali, then Angelica, then Caleb, then maybe Jessica. And maybe as you answer these, you can give us your concluding comments. Yeah. Joseph, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe first of all, when you're dealing with Gen Z, we have to maybe ask ourselves, maybe what are the characteristics, maybe what are the things which maybe set them aside from the other generations. First of all, for this new age, you find that we are in a different maybe times, whereby as compared to maybe the older generations, maybe you are the first ones who maybe have experienced and have encountered technology maybe from a very young age. So with this exposure from the technology, first of all, we find that many Gen Zs are actually independent, and we're not being helicopter. There's no more helicopter parenting from the older generations, whereby maybe we're able to maybe think differently, or maybe you are not maybe heavily influenced by the maybe older generations. And second of all, you are self-confident, whereby the courage maybe to maybe stand in an online platform, maybe to speak up for yourselves. That means that we are very self-confident, and there and also Gen Zs are also autonomy, whereby you can maybe do things maybe by yourselves. So maybe the this youth empowerment, maybe how it can evolve to meet the needs of the Gen Zs. Maybe first of all, to maybe how to maybe to reach to the youth. You find that how can we reach the youth? How can we reach the Gen Z? First of all, I find that my brother talked about Advocate Charlie talked about maybe mentorship. I find that mentorship, the youth empowerment, there should be these mentorship programs whereby the youth, they are maybe mentored, not by maybe older generations, but maybe those older Gen Zs. Find that Gen Zs, the age bracket is from 18 to 35. Maybe those who have reached their 30s could be engaged in mentorship programs whereby they are mentoring these younger youth, or the Gen Zs are the youth, where so that they can share the experiences. Maybe the older youth, maybe in their 30s, could maybe just guide these younger persons, maybe to in their maybe the in the empowering them. The mentorship program is very important, and also you can maybe diversify these mentorship programs whereby the mentorship could be youth based. Find that in the classical mentorship sense, find that maybe from persons, find that mentorship is from maybe our parents or spiritual leaders. Maybe you can have a change of maybe a perspective in that, whereby the mentorship could be in form of maybe field based, whereby, for example, if maybe I'm a law student, and maybe, and not maybe, as a law student, I could seek mentorship from an advocate from Tally, so that we find that that is a very effective, because Tally is already in the field of, or in the law field, and maybe I'm from the education perspective, so when I'm having that mentorship with him, find that my needs are being catered for, because I can air out what I really want, and in turn the mentor in turn can relate, because when mentorship is there's a very wide generational gap. Find that the older generations, maybe they despise this younger generation, because they deem them as lazy, they are not maybe hardworking. But when you have this the gap is shortened, find that we can really understand each other. So I'm relying on maybe mentorship. So the youth empowerment could be focused maybe or more mentorship programs, because it will help the Gen Zs to build capacity, as my fellow colleague advocate has said, building capacities and the skills necessary, so that when you are going to maybe the job field, when you're going to the next step in our life, we can have that a rough picture of what we have been mentored for, and what we are expecting in that field. And my concluding marks is that at this right and this age and this moment, find that it's like a revolution by the youth. The examples of Mercy, Tarus, and many others in the online platform. This is like a revolution whereby we are demystifying the stereotypes against the Gen Zs as being spoiled, being maybe lazy, they are not innovating, and like that we find that the Gen Zs are maybe proactive, they have more influence. Find that now the world is like a global village, whereby a youth can be influential in any part of the world. So it's like that revolution, and this when this youth-led initiative are set up, we're trying to maybe like bring a change to this world to address the global challenges. Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. I believe it's time we hear from you, Tali, now. Tali, can you hear me? Okay, Jessica, can you hear me?
What is happening? Can you hear me? You
Yeah,
can hear
now
me?
we can. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Empowering the youth. First, I must say it's an issue that perhaps as an organization, you have to look into what are the methods and ways in which to encourage the youth, the Gen Z generation, into being empowered and doing the right things. I cannot say there is a straight jacket way, there is one way. But at the very basic, I think by encouraging those who have given themselves out, those who have put innovative ideas on the table, so that we lift each other and even the older generation. If you have youths who have, let's say, come up with an idea, like I have said in agriculture, and they have shown how you can convert 1,000 hectares of desert land into a proper agricultural land, then I think it's incumbent upon the older generation to support these initiatives so that when they act as a lesson, they serve as an example so that other youths are also encouraged. But then when you see youths who are putting in all the effort, all the work, and then capital and other socioeconomic challenges stifle the innovation, and then a larger percent of the youth get discouraged. So that is the first thing I think we need to do, to encourage those ones who have ideas, like Speak Up Africa itself. We have to encourage such kind of initiatives. And then secondly, we need to encourage each other on the content we consume. I remember I said, as a person, you need the freedom, including the freedom to make mistakes, but you must always be aware that there are consequences. Even the Bible says the wages of sin are death. So while you might be forgiven, you must know that there are the consequences that you will bear. So even as in the age of freedom to say anything and to do everything, we must be very aware of what we do, how it will affect ourselves going forward, how it affects our brand, because it's all about branding if we need to have a voice. Speak Up Africa has its own brand. Same to Tali's Red Tali, same to Kelvin. Everybody needs to have their own brand. And we will know and identify you as a brand. Now, the other thing, finally, that then I would say is, as the youth, we don't need to wait to be invited at the dinner table. We need to pull our seat, force ourselves to the dinner table. Next time, we will be hosting the entire dinner. Thank you, and back to you.
Thank you so much, Tali, and amen to that. Angelica, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much. I hope you can hear me. My mic is not doing its stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, what role do the Gen Zs have to play in order to, bring about empowerment? First of all, I would like to say that for us as Gen Zs, we have a huge role to play in terms of being the change we want to see, right? Where because not everyone will be empowered in the same way, and that is a truth that is happening right now in our nation, right? So we have to, because we are empowered, we have to be that situation where we are empowered, right? So we have to be that change that we want to see, where I have the resources to better the other lives of people, so I will use my resources to empower others, right? I know, because I've been empowered, I know that doing certain things is basically wrong, because, you know, we have rules and stuff like that. So I know that. So I have to be the change I want to see, whereby I will not indulge myself in, you know, as one of the speakers said, indulging in negative media, or, you know, doing those sorts of stuff. So we have to be the change we want to see in order to empower the other Gen Zs to be that change that, you know, the other generation will see, right? And with that, they've said mentorship and stuff like that, but we can also start our own, you know, initiatives where we better the people. We can start our initiatives where we perfect ourselves, so that we can emulate a positive example to others. Yeah. And there's this theory called critique and praxis. It's our theory that is, you know, basically what he said, Bernard E. Harcourt, I hope I've not butchered his name. Yeah, he says that we are moving from a world where, like, you know, just judging things is not enough. Speaking is not enough. Like, you know what I'm saying? In as much as we should speak out, in as much as we should, you know, go out there and say that, point the wrong things in black and white, we should also practice what we say, right? Whereby, yes, we've spoken, we've said, we've set up these agendas, and, you know, we're living in a digital world where everyone will speak out. I mean, everyone has podcasts these days, so everyone will just say, this is what is happening, this is wrong, and this is that. But how can we move from that speaking? How can we implement what you are talking about? Yeah, and as I've said, we can implement what you're saying by starting up initiatives that can empower the Gen Zs and the other generation that is not yet empowered. Yeah, and then yeah, I'd just like to reference a certain quote right here that I live by. Right. The quote is, you should go the extra mile because it's never crowded. And that's the thing that the Gen Z should do, because we have been empowered with technology and stuff like that. Just sit down and wait for, you know, stuff to happen. Like, we should go out there. Like, you should not be the person who, there's this quote that says the leader is the one who adjusts the sails, while the optimist is just there to say, oh my goodness, it'll work out. You know what I'm saying? So we should be the kind of person who's there, and we should be the people who are saying, like, you know what, I'm going to adjust this sail so that this ship can move, right? And with that, I guess we can move very far as Gen Zs and as you know, world at large, if we implement what we do. Yeah, I guess that's just basically it.
Okay, I hear you on that. Maybe I'll follow up with you later and get the exact quote from you, because I feel like that is something we should probably all live by. Or maybe you can just comment it in the public chat. Yeah, post it as a comment. Yes, so now, Caleb, I think it's time we hear from you now.
Well, when you read The Wretched of the Earth by Frantz Fanon, he says that every generation has a duty to know their own problems and challenges and to provide solutions to them. Well, an example, the Dedan Kimathi regime had a challenge, colonization, and they had to fight for independence. Well, immediately after independence, the Kinamutunga had a duty to fight for, let's say, multi-party democracy and for basic fundamental human rights. That's why we have the 2010 Constitution. And currently, we as a generation, we are faced with an economic challenge, a challenge which speaks into our dignity as humans, our dignity as a people. Well, by 2050, let's say a third of the world's populations will be youth in Africa. And yeah, and every time I think of this, I think of how many of us will be unemployed, how many of us will be living dignified lives. And I think our economy is the challenge of our generation, and we need to see how to provide solutions to this. And we are a privileged generation. I'll say my grandmother found a car, and alishtuka, we found guns. We found guns it had been invented elsewhere, and we didn't see it. We didn't even know that there is a whole revolution on firearms. We were still using arrows in 1897 while the white men had guns as Africa. And however, currently, we see Twitter being changed to X in a day. We actually see Elon Musk developing, let's say, SpaceX. When an invention happens in India, we have it by the next day, or even in less than 24 hours, we are aware of it. And therefore, the power which we have as a generation is we are informed of, let's say, the geopolitics and the development in sunset technology each and every second. Our ancestors didn't have this. The question is, what do we do with this information? Well, I woke up and then I saw we had bulbs, and then I had to study history so that I can know Thomas Edison invented bulbs. However, I knew the guys who invented WhatsApp and enhanced our communication. We know Mark Zuckerberg with Facebook. We know Elon Musk with his, let's say, PayPal. We know Jeff Bezos with Amazon. And I think our advantage as a generation is that it's information and we are up to date. We don't need to study this. And so I think our role is to use this information to have knowledge. Well, and then as I conclude, as an encouragement to the other youth, I like to say a quote by Winston Churchill. I think the precedence has already been set, and it informs my life that sure I am this day that we, the youth, are the masters of our fate, that the task set before us is not beyond our strength, that its pangs and toils is not beyond our endurance. As long as we have faith in our cause and an unconquerable will to win, victory will not be denied to us. Thank you very much. May God bless you. May God bless Speak Up Africa.
Thank you so much as well. So finally, we can hear from Jessica.
Thank you so much, Salome. But before I get into answering the last question, in the spirit of speaking up, I'd love to share my sentiments to the two last questions before the final one. So I would like to share my views on job insecurity, and I like that the advocates, the seniors that are in this platform have mentioned that you have to work to become competent, but you have to be live to the fact that sometimes you do everything, sometimes you have everything, you go and even study abroad, you ensure that you have all the skills that are necessary for you to take on a task, and then still the job is not there, so that is where some youths find themselves, and it's very, very bad for them to find themselves in that situation. However, majority at times, that is the situation a lot of people find themselves in. And I like that Tali has mentioned that people should also explore other avenues and not just this I don't know if it's the blue collar or white collar jobs that are usually more popular as opposed to agriculture and, let's say, mining, for example. But the reality of the fact is sometimes we invest a lot in education, we invest a lot in studying, and then after we don't find jobs, and a lot of people find themselves feeling frustrated and they feel like all of this was for nothing. So in as much as we should encourage the youth to not think about one thing, we should also encourage them to know that that is part of the process sometimes, because you might not get a job in 1 year. And does that mean that you quit and leave all the knowledge that you've gained from different institutes and all that, So we have to encourage, most especially the Gen Z, because we know that we are a generation which believes in instant gratification. We want things and we want them now. So in our capacities, let's be able to talk to our fellow, people who are facing these problems hands-on, so that they can be able to know that they might not get a job now, but they might get it like in 1 year. And I think the problem is a lot of people see the successes of other people and then they want that for themselves. But many a times our stories are different, you know. So a lot of us should be able to embrace that difference and know that at the end of the day, you know, we should trust the process and all that. It might be frustrating, but yeah, before someone goes to sell Uji, you should know that you're supposed to be, you know, patient and wait for this, you know, opportunities to come, because at the end of the day, they might just come. And then also compelling the youth to think about other avenues that they can, you know, be helpful as they wait to get their dream job. You know, that's also something that we lack in our society, because when you get into uni, you know that, oh, I want to work in this law firm, I want to go here and there, and if it doesn't work out, then some people are just dismantled completely, and they do not know how they can recover from that, which is really bad. So we might have influence to talk to these people and speak to them and encourage them, so that they don't lose their focus and they don't, you know, feel too bad. It might be a bad feeling, but yeah. Another thing I'd like to mention is the aspect of job insecurity, and I'd like to briefly mention the bill that we were talking about. I feel like the bill is very transformative because it addresses a lot of issues that are bedeviling us as Kenyans today. And one such issue is the opacity in the disbursement, or rather placement of people, selection of people in this public offices. We know a lot of corrupt things happen there. We know a lot of nepotism happens there, and a lot of people who get selected are people who are, you know, have connections, or people who have people inside that can get them the job. So this bill has a very, very nice thing that it's bringing on board, because it promotes inclusivity and transparency in the selection process, which I feel like is really, really good. And something else that I feel like I support in that bill is section 7 of the bill, which talks about eligibility of internship. A lot of times you have job applications going around, and then you see that the minimum threshold for you to apply for that job is they require someone who has been in the field for 3 years, and you're just a fresh graduate, you know. So this opportunity, or rather this bill, secures opportunities for people who are just out of university. And I thought I should mention that, because I feel like if we have this bill in place, it will be very beneficial for a lot of us as people who are coming out of university, and future generations can benefit from this. Alafu, another thing that is very pronounced in that bill is the fact that they want to promote job security, which is really good, and fair remuneration. A lot of interns just work for free out here, and that is really discouraging, because you need to run your life, you need to show up for the job, you know. And it's really fair to see that this job is trying to address that, because a lot of interns cannot even sustain the internship process because they're not getting anything out of it. And a lot of them will be told, oh, you have to be patient, you have to start from the bottom to get to the top. And it doesn't work, because I need fair to come to job every single day to the job. Yeah. So I feel like that bill has addressed a lot of issues that are bedeviling us as Kenyans, and I would, if I was an MP today, I would vote for it. As I conclude, I'd like to give my sentiments on giving meaning to youth empowerment as Gen Zs. What I'd like to mention is that we should move away from instant gratification. That is the first thing, because it literally gives us a lot of pressure. It literally makes us feel like we are, you know, stressed out and all that. Because when it comes to empowerment, and when it comes to even getting jobs and all that, I think a lot of patience has to be keyed in, because you can't just have $1 million job overnight and all that. So that's one aspect that I would like to give or lay out, because a lot of us like things very easy, and we should move away from that, because it hampers a lot of aspects that are really important when it comes to unleashing our true potential. Because many of us might be lazy, would want to key in a lot of would want to key in no effort, rather, so that you can get instant results out of nowhere. So I think when we are looking into the aspect of empowerment, unleashing potential of the youth, and solving problems, we have to give ourselves that thought behind our mind that we have to put in effort as Gen Zs, because we are a generation which likes to not put in effort and miraculously want to see results. Another thing that I like to encourage us as Gen Zs is sometimes we should go slow on the affirmations. The Mountain is You is a book that I really love because it tells us to self-reflect in very critical ways so that we cannot be lying to ourselves and we can have positive progress. So in this self-reflection, I want to just tie that with the social media aspect and say that when you look at the way we use social media, a lot of times it is a time wasting avenue. Our algorithm is bringing a lot of irrelevant things that we find ourselves spending a lot of time on. So as the youth, we should be very, very critical and very, very intentional with what we do with our time. And we should not be using endless affirmations to cover up the ill that we are, doing. Because once we get ourselves spending 18 hours on TikTok, that means that we have spent a lot of time in just scrolling and watching other people's content, yet we are not making positive impact to ourselves. I don't want to generalize this because sometimes other people have their algorithm bringing worthwhile things, but many a times we find it's just people dancing there. And yes, it can be used to solve a lot of mental illness related issues, but we have to be live to the fact that we're supposed to be taking action, as Angelica said. We're supposed to empower ourselves and unleash our true potential, as even the theme of this webinar says. That's all from me. I think as I conclude, I'd like to say that let's use our power and influence. Let's use our numbers and let's use our workforce to foster economic growth, to foster growth, and to foster change in our environment. Yeah. So positive change, that is. As I conclude, my name is Jessica Damara, as I previously mentioned. I'm the president of the LSSK, and I'm really grateful that we were able to come here today and speak on these very, very important issues. Thank you so much, Speak Up Africa, for having us, and back to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Jessica, for that. That was truly inspiring. And I think at this point, we can call it a day. So personally, on behalf of Speak Up Africa, I am really grateful for our panelists today for coming on board and, engaging with us on the International Youth Day. And yeah, so personally, I feel really inspired. I know for sure that after this, I'll have to come and rewatch this again and take a few notes because I have personally learned a lot from you guys. So thank you so much for coming on board, and I hope we can collaborate on more future projects together. For our audience there, thank you so much for tuning in. And yeah, you can also follow us on all our social platforms. We are all over. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Threads, we are everywhere. And our username is Speak Up Africa with a K. So you can follow us and engage with us more. We normally post informative content regularly. So there's always something to view and learn about on our pages. Karibuni sana. And at this point, I think it's time we call it a day. So thank you guys so much. And yeah, I'll be ending the broadcast in a few.